What's up, beautiful people? Hey, if you are going to be moving to the Wichita, Kansas area and you want to know some of the negative aspects of living here, you are in the right place. So stay tuned for 10 things that you will have to deal with if you're moving to Wichita, Kansas. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Regina and welcome to my channel. On this channel, I give you all the information, everything that you need to know regarding living in the Wichita, Kansas metro area. So today, I'm going to share with you 10 negative aspects of living here. Now, I live here. I've lived here for almost 20 years, so obviously I like it, it's good, but it would not be fair for me to only tell you the good things about living here without also telling you some of the negatives. I know if I was moving somewhere else, I would definitely want to know both sides of the coin, so that's why I'm doing this, just for you. All right, so I've got some notes here, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. All right, so let's hop right into it. These are not in any particular order. So here we go. Number one negative aspect of living in Wichita, Kansas area is the extreme weather. So here we have really hot summers. When I say hot summers, I mean the 90s, even the low 100s at times. And then on the adverse side of that, we have really cold winters. So it's definitely two sides of the extreme. In the summertime, it is going to be hot. It's a little humid. I wouldn't say overly humid. There are some days that feel a little bit more dry, but it is hot, you guys. I mean, we'll go for days, weeks with 90s plus temperatures. So it is definitely really hot in the summertime. And then in the wintertime, we're gonna be, every now and then we'll be below zero, not too often, but it gets pretty cold, especially at night. That temperature can really drop. But during the day, you know, it'll be in the 20s, 30s, it's pretty chilly. Another thing about the weather here in Kansas, we also say the weather is wacky. That means it could be 60 degrees one day and then 92 degrees the next day. Like in the fall, when we're getting ready to transition from summer into winter, the weather is all over the place. So it's a little bit unpredictable, and we definitely have those extremes. We also have the threat of tornadoes. We are in Tornado Alley, but I will say in the almost 20 years that I've lived here, there's only been one tornado that has touched down close to Wichita. It wasn't even actually in Wichita. It was in a smaller town just east of here called Andover, and that was in 2022, and that was actually a pretty significant tornado. I believe it was an F3 or an F4, but thankfully there was no loss of life. In the spring is when we have tornado season. So every tornado season, those tornado sirens are going to go off at one time or another, but you just need to go to your shelter, which is usually your basement. If you don't have a basement, your home probably has some sort of a safe room and you're gonna be good. But there is the threat of tornadoes here. But like I said, we actually haven't had as many as people probably think of. When you think of Kansas, I feel like there's been more tornadoes like down south and Texas and even a little bit on the East Coast, more so than we've had here. But our weather is definitely extreme. All right. So next one would be the limited public transportation. So if you're used to being able to hop on a subway or a train, the tram, something downtown metro situation, we don't have anything like that here. We have our city busing system, but outside of that, there is nothing. So when you live here, you will definitely need a car to get around or you need to have a very large budget for Uber and Lyft rides. But our public transportation system is very limited. So if you like that big city feel of being able to hop on the subway and stuff like that, we don't have that here. You can hop on the bus and that's about it. All right, so that brings us to number 3, and that is the limited nightlife. Yes, so if you're a night person, you like to go out, after 10 o'clock and find something fun to do. We don't have a whole lot of options. Now, I don't want you to think that at 9 o'clock, like everything's closed and there's nowhere to go and nothing's open, there's no grocery stores open. It's not like that, but I will say around the 9 o'clock hour, I feel like the city kind of shuts down. So like I said, if you like to go out and you like kind of the more vibrant nightlife that a bigger urban city might offer, Wichita doesn't have a whole lot in that regard. So if you're seeking more of that hustle and bustle of the nighttime, Wichita is probably going to fall short in that area for you. The nightlife here is definitely a little bit more subdued. And what's funny, listen to this. One of our barbecue restaurants, their tagline is "Don't be late, we close at 8." So that just shows you right there, like, people are ready to just shut it down. Go home, go get in your house and entertain yourself at nighttime. So the city definitely feels like 9 o'clock, things are shutting down. There's not many people out. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of it too is post-COVID, because before COVID, we at least had some of our Walmarts that were 24 hours. There were a lot of McDonald's that were 24 hours. I don't think any of the Walmarts are open 24 hours anymore at all. There are some McDonald's places where they're 24 hours, but those are really spread out. And Walmart and McDonald's are not the place to be at night. But I will say that since COVID happened, I feel like things calmed down even earlier than they did before. Now, Wichita does have some really great nightlife options. If you're looking for some restaurants, maybe some bars and things like that where you can go to, you're definitely going to want to go to this area in Wichita called Old Town. And they actually have a really nice website. It is oldtownwichita.com. So you can head there, look at all the venues. They have a calendar with events and restaurants, all kinds of stuff. So that would be a really great resource if you're looking for that nightlife. All right. And that brings us to our next one, which is number 4. And that would be the limited food diversity here. Now, Wichita has no shortage of restaurants. None. There are a ton of restaurants here. But when it comes to the diversity, that's where things get a little tricky. So we have a lot of your big chain restaurants, Applebee's, Chili's. We've got a lot of steakhouses. We have the basic fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, all that good stuff. So we've got kind of your more American cuisine. We also have a lot of barbecue to choose from. Then you've got your fast food restaurants. We also have a pretty decent Asian cuisine, some Asian cuisine options. There's a lot of Thai restaurants, Chinese, Japanese, all that kind of stuff. So we have that. And we also have a pretty decent amount of Mexican restaurants. So those, I would say, are the core types of food that you're going to find here. So if you're looking for something more international, that's going to be a struggle for you. We do not have a lot of international cuisine options here. For example, we have one German restaurant. If you're looking for West Indian food, Jamaican food or something like that, I don't even know if the Jamaican restaurant is still open. We had one and I'm not quite sure it's still open. So that's what I'm saying. There's lots of food, so you don't have to worry about that. Just not a lot of diverse international options of things to choose from. So if you like your different palettes, your different kinds of cuisines, you like to try different types of foods, it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle for you here. All right, so that brings us to number 5. And number 5 would be the terrain here, the landscape. It's giving flat. It's giving plains. We live in the Great Plains, and the plains are plain. So if you like mountains and hills and ocean views, water views, all that kind of stuff, it is not here in Wichita. So it's very flat, which has some great advantages too, which I talk about in my pros video. But if you lean towards being a person who really enjoys that look of nature with lots of different scenery, you're not going to find that here. We do have some areas where it's very deciduous, and there are some beautiful trees, especially in the fall. You really do get the leaves changing colors, and you get that whole feel and all of that. So when I say flat, I don't want you to think like there's literally nothing, but for the most part, I mean, this part of the country is the plains. So for the most part, you're going to get more of a flatter terrain. So, maybe you don't care about that, but that is definitely something that is a downside of being here. All right, so that brings us to number 6, which would be the limited cultural and fine arts opportunities. So I don't want you to think that there's nothing cultural here, because we do have some options. However, I would say those options are definitely more on a smaller scale. So kind of the same thing with the food options. We do have some diverse food options, but definitely on a smaller scale, not as easily accessible as they would be in a larger, more metro urban city. So there are some museums here. We actually have a good amount of museums. But when you think museum here, you're not going to be thinking like really big statement, huge building museum. We've got a couple, but not that many. The museums here are more on a smaller scale. Our art museum is beautiful. That is a gorgeous, beautiful building, beautiful art in there. One of the best art collections here. They have some wonderful exhibits. That I would say is more of probably our standout museum here would be our art museum. And then I would say everything else is kind of on a smaller scale. So we do have an aviation museum, but think small scale. We have a museum of world treasures. We have an Indian center. We have an African American museum. But again, when you are thinking about those things, we have them. They're just on a very small scale. So if you're really into the arts and history and all of that kind of stuff, we have a couple options here for you, but not a whole lot of them. So that would definitely be a downside. All right, and that brings me to my next one, number 7, which is the limited high-end shopping. So just like with the food, there's a lot of places to shop here. But I feel like similar to the food, we have your standard big chain stores here. So we have Kohl's, JCPenney, Old Navy, we've got Target, of course. Let's see, we have Marshall's, TJ Maxx, we have a bunch of Ross stores. I think I said Kohl's already. Like H&M. We have a store called Von Mar. I'm not sure if that's everywhere. Let me see. What else do we have here? So those are the ones I can think of on the top of my head. So there's shopping. You're going to be able to find shopping. Not to worry. But if you're looking for more high-end premium stores, we don't have a lot to offer in that area. So if you're looking for some higher end shopping, Bradley Fair which is in East Wichita on Rock Road. They have some nice high-end shopping. They've got some nice boutiques over there. You're gonna find some higher-end restaurants, really nice place. And then I would also say on the west side of Wichita, just west of Wichita in Mays, we have what's called New Market Square. Great place over there, lots of restaurants. You'll find some good shopping over there as well. So for higher end, I would say those are going to be our two major spots, and then kind of sprinkled, you might find a little higher end boutique here and there. But if you're looking for that higher end shopping experience with some premium outlet stores and things like that, we don't have much to choose from. However, we are just 2.5 hours away from Oklahoma City. And Oklahoma City has some nice outlets, more options of shopping. So, and also we're about 3 hours from Kansas City, which is also going to give you a lot more options. So, I mean, you can hop in the car, a couple hours drive, make a day trip of it and go get some shopping in. Or of course, you can always shop online. But like I was saying, there's places to shop, just not a whole lot of higher end shopping. All right, so the next one, which brings me to number 8, that is going to be the lack of major sports teams. You like your NHL, your hockey, you like your NFL, your National Football, your NBA, your WNBA, your MLB, your Major League Baseball, all of that stuff. We do not have a major sports team here in Wichita. So it's kind of a downside, because I think it's really nice to have that option to be able to go to a game, you know, when you want to. And it also kind of creates a buzz in the city when it's game night. But we do not have any major sports teams here in Wichita. We do have a plethora of minor league sports here. So there's definitely some opportunities to go and be a part of sporting events, to watch sports. But if you're looking for that major league team, we do not have any here. So your closest team would be Kansas City, so Kansas City Chiefs, and then your Kansas City Royals, and then also to Oklahoma City Thunder is there. So those would be your closest major league teams. Wichita does not have their own. All right, so that brings me to number 9. And number 9, and this could be a positive or a negative, but I'm gonna put this on my negative list. So Wichita, the Wichita metro area, so Wichita and then the surrounding suburbs, has a population of around 650 million. So, sorry, 600 to 650,000, not million. So that's a decent population. Decent, right? Although that is a population, I will say that there are times when this is a bigger city, but it definitely has that small town feel. So if you've heard of 6 degrees of separation, like between you and some person, there's like 6 people in between, like that person knows a person, and that person knows a person, that person knows a person, then you know that person. I feel like here in Wichita, the degrees of separation is like 2. I feel like I'm gonna know somebody that's definitely going to know somebody else, like for sure, and frequently. So although it's a bigger city, it still has that small town kind of feel where like people know a lot of other people that you know. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it could be a good thing, but sometimes it's like, you know, sometimes you just want to go to the store and like not run into somebody that you know. And it doesn't happen all the time. I'm just saying, like, overall, sometimes it feels like that. But like I said, the population in this area is like 600,000. So it's not like it's 60,000 or 16,000. But I definitely get that feeling sometimes. All right. And that brings me to number 10, which is our airport. And our airport, though there are some positives about it, here are some of the negatives. So the first thing is that it is really challenging to find direct flights out of here. So believe it or not, I'm gonna give you a quiz. What is Wichita's nickname? Do you know the nickname of Wichita? It is the air capital of the world. So the running joke here is that we're the air capital of the world, but air travel here is not so easy. So we are the air capital of the world because we have a really big aviation industry here. It's actually a lot of planes and plane parts that are actually built right here in Wichita. So that's really neat. Although we have that, it doesn't exactly translate to our airport. So it is a smaller airport. So if you're looking for direct flights out of here, it can be a little bit challenging. A lot of the times you will have a layover, and we all know when you have a layover, it just makes your traveling day drag out, and that's not always the funnest. We all know what happens with layovers, delays, all that kind of stuff. So it can be a little bit challenging. There are some direct flights, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the times it's going to be challenging because you're going to have that layover. Another thing is because we're a smaller airport, the prices on flights can be a little bit higher than the bigger airports. For example, in Kansas City, they have an international airport, and Oklahoma City as well, a little bit bigger airport. So if you go and Google right now and find a flight from Wichita to New York and then Kansas City to New York, look at the difference in the prices. I mean, sometimes it's a couple $100 difference, which is crazy because Kansas City is only 3 hours away, but the prices here on flights are just significantly higher than going to Kansas City or Oklahoma City. Now, with that being said, if you don't mind driving 3 hours, and I know a lot of people that do this, they'll just drive the 3 hours and fly out from Kansas City to save a little bit money on your ticket price. So that's definitely an option, but definitely something that you should be aware of if you're moving to the Wichita, Kansas area. Okay guys, so that wraps up my 10 things that you have to deal with if you're going to be moving to the Wichita, Kansas area. Again, no particular order, but those are definitely some of the negatives. Like I said, I think it's really important to be informed about the pros and the cons of a city that you might be calling home. So listen, if you are thinking about making a move here, reach out to me. My information is in the description box below. I'd love to be able to help you out in any way possible if you're looking to purchase a house or if you just have some general questions about living here as well. Don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure you go watch my video about the pros of living in Wichita, Kansas. My name is Regina. I'm a local realtor here in the Wichita, Kansas area. Until next time, peace, love, and blessings. Bye.